What up, Double Deuce? Today we're going to discuss PD Next, an unoriginal title for the next phase of our professional development programs. Since we have so many people moving on from the Double Deuce, we thought it would be a good idea to pass on some continuity for future RMs, flight staff, and whoever really have an idea how to put together sessions and run the PD program. We'll discuss some reasoning behind this, as well as cover a short history of our program. We'll talk about the practical how, and at the end do some brainstorming to hopefully chart a way forward, which saves a lot of work down the road and will help keep the program moving. As is our custom, we like to discuss the why behind things. Put simply, I don't want this program to die off, but what I want is not important. The question is whether the members of the Double Deuce think there is value to the program. Things like morale programs, professional development, all that fuzzy stuff that makes a unit special, they tend to fade or are completely changed, overhauled every few years, depending on who's in charge. How many initiatives have you seen wither over time because someone PCSs or a formula gets changed on an Excel spreadsheet? Not only does the squadron need to feel the program is important, its members will have to put in the work to keep it going, which is an uphill battle. If you look at the graphic above, you will see a straight performance line. Unencumbered, people slide forward or backward on that line for positive or negative. Factors come into play, but for this illustration, their positive or negative performance is virtually unlimited. Now, being members of a bureaucratic organization, and this can be applied to any group, but especially affecting bureaucracies, we have requirements. We're talking AFIs, MICT checklists, the stuff we have to do because they're written and we're inspected and evaluated based on them. These requirements are good in some ways. They help us define norms and acceptable behaviors and procedures. These requirements, though, drive down the performance line, narrowing behaviors and creating a bowl. If you can imagine a ball at the bottom of that bowl, it's difficult to move up either side. To move the ball, you need something to propel it. There's logic to having written requirements, but they can drive behavior to a minimum that's hard to break out of. I would argue that to overcome that inertia, your desire and culture can get the ball moving, either towards the positive or negative. Provided some tools we'll discuss, and based on the work we've done this past year, I think we can keep the ball on the positive side of the bowl, but it's going to take consistent attention. It's like the way I view the chief pilot job, which I liken to gardening, where things aren't AFI driven, but we know what right looks and feels like, so we're constantly working to inform, to educate, and communicate. It's an infinite fight, but with a squadron that has such a strong culture, we're already poised to not just accept the minimum. So, in summary as to the why, first, decide if this program is truly valuable and worth fighting for, because human nature, the nature of organizations in general, is to discard the non-mandatory, the fuzzy, usually in the name of efficiency. The work does not always yield measurable results, but it feels right. It speaks to a learning organization dedicated to communication and transparency and must be tended by people passionate about the unit and each other. For more for posterity than anything, I thought we'd cover a quick history and how we got here. So, back in February, March 2020, we started piecing ideas together for how we wanted officer PD to work. We thought it'd be a cool idea to have monthly themes, think like a preacher doing multi-week lessons over a number of Sundays. We identified desired qualities, learning objectives, if you will, and overarching themes that would guide us through the year. The first month, April, would start off with the basics. We discussed how the squadron and the Air Force work regarding everything from scheduling to assignments, as well as what's expected of members. Though we did not plan for the COVID fallout, working from home lent itself to our model. We put out watch-ahead videos each Wednesday, then had a Zoom chat each Thursday to discuss. Our speakers would give a bio and present their thoughts on the weekly topic. Our second month covered enlisted perspectives, and as we rolled into the summer, we paused OPDs and had a couple months of JPD open to all unit members to discuss overarching topics like communication. Towards the end of the summer, the EPD program started evolving, and we started senior PD for unit leadership, senior NCOs and FGOs. In the fall, starting with Colonel Simmons, we started bringing in senior leaders as well as partner agencies to further widen the aperture and talk to even more groups, spouses as well as all units in the wing. We now had an infrastructure that could be tailored to member needs and touch anyone associated with the 60th Air Mobility Wing. Most are familiar with our YouTube site and how we use it to publish and archive our videos. It is important to note that our PD lessons have not only been video-based. On a number of occasions, they've been accompanied by scholarly articles, other videos and podcasts, or we use Slack to provide recommended readings or other materials to help people learn and grow. We have a recommended readings pulled from military reading lists, business journals, honestly anything we found interesting or thought-provoking. Over time, we've established quite a catalog as well as a rhythm. So next, we'll talk a little bit about the future. This slide is titled A Future, as opposed to The Future, because it is up to you as to where the program goes. A while back, I briefed this graphic, which shows the different aspects of the Double Deuce Cloud. A big piece of that is PD, but to really exploit the medium and create a tool that fosters connection, culture, growth, learning, all that good stuff, you'll have to get members to create content. That can look like more diversity in generating PD sessions or lifestyle-focused content or something we haven't even thought of yet. My advice would be to get others involved, not just with ideas, but action, and do so regularly, maybe once or twice a month per PD group. Get people on the schedule as speakers, encourage people to brief or speak to topics they're familiar with, or like with CT, topics that they want to learn more about, and forecast into the future to make sure it doesn't drop off or get forgotten. You'll see at the bottom of the graphic, people will need motivation and incentive to unlock member participation and contribution, and the key is functional and technical know-how, which we'll touch on next. This brings us to the how for putting PD together. It starts with an idea, and we'll generate some of those during the brainstorming session. You can think on targets of opportunity, like if there's a Heritage Month, holiday, Day of Remembrance, or other special event. You can start with a broad concept and break it into modules with an overarching theme. You can take a chapter from a book, an article, a podcast, then condense, brief, and put your own spin on it. There's a lot of ways to go, and the key piece is to make a connection to the audience, something relevant to them as people or to their job. Once you have your idea, your topic, you'll likely need to do a little research. There are some topics out there that you could freestyle about, but it's better to have a book or article to hang your hat on. First, so people know where to go to learn more. Second, this provides credibility and shows people you aren't just voicing an opinion or relying on anecdotes. Having an opinion-based lesson can be beneficial, but if we're talking about deliberate development, I like the idea of keeping it relatively formal and have a few thought-provoking questions on hand to make the live chat, if you choose to have one, more engaging. So, research. You do not have to write a term paper. The idea is to provide educational value and provide a forum for future discussion and exploration. As you can see, I like to create a basic PowerPoint with a simple outline. Intro, a few points, a closing. Sprinkled in are some graphics, quotes, whatever you like. Additional bits of flair could include a suggested book of the month, closing quotes to ponder, or even a tongue-in-cheek commercial sponsor, which can add a little humor and pass along a cool product. Once the framework is built, I'd like to fill in with some text, like what you see me reading right now. For a video in the 10 to 20 minute range, 15 is about my goal, you're talking about 7 to 9 slides. Initially, this was because videos were loaded in Slack, which limited the file size to 1 gig, which worked out to about 15 minutes. But you also have to consider people's attention spans and ease of use. It takes some practice to figure out your pacing, but that is what has worked for me. I like to write out the entire presentation. Some people may be more comfortable with riffing off their bullets. I like to bold the text I want to emphasize, which hopefully makes the talk sound less like I'm reading. But that's just a personal technique. Continuing the how, I can freely admit that I am not good at pewter. My technical skill is middling at best, so if you're good at video software, you have a leg up already. I downloaded Cyberlink Screen Recorder, which runs about 20 to 30 bucks and is super easy to use. The software allows you to calibrate the audio and video settings to fit whatever you need. As you can see here, I use the webcam overlay, the size of which can be customized, or you can lock the recording to full screen web capture, which I may have done on accident once or twice, or no webcam at all, just recording the audio or recording an application on the computer. Like if you wanted to record a commentary of you playing Minecraft, which is pretty popular with the kids nowadays. So, whatever means you use to record, you get the file saved on your computer. The files are in the computer. How do we get them to the people who can load them on the Double Deuce Cloud? Who's responsible for upload and publishing of videos? The Chief Pilot Office has the access to the YouTube account, and the way Google has it set up, and for security reasons, admin access is limited to that one office. So the key is to get that video to them. If it's under 1 gig, you could message it via Slack so they can download and upload it to YouTube. Another option is to save the video on your Google Drive and then push it to the Chief Pilot through their Google account. Other transferable media could also be used, like an external hard drive, memory stick, or CD. Hit me up directly if you don't know what a CD is. It all sounds a bit cumbersome, so hopefully you find an easy solution to get the information flowing smoothly. Another way we produce content is via live chat. Each major shop in the squadron has a Zoom account with an associated Gmail account. What's cool is that if you log into Zoom with one of these accounts or ask that shop to host a chat for you, they can hit record. At the end of that session, the chat will be saved and archived in that shop's Zoom profile. Periodically, the Chief Pilot will go into these accounts and download the videos, then upload them onto the cloud. CTs, for example, are pulled from the Training Muley account and all calls from the front office account. The big foot stomp here is to remember to hit record, or else that experience will be lost. If something is important and you want it to live on for posterity, CDs, PDs, retirements, farewells, promotions, all that good stuff, then ensuring it is recorded needs to be a priority. It needs to be worked out in our behaviors and battle rhythm, or again, our programs wither and all this great stuff is lost to time. All right, we're almost there. All right, some pieces of unsolicited advice for you moving forward. First is to learn to trim videos prior to uploading, especially those Zoom calls where there's a lot of dead air in the beginning. This is more for the Chief Pilot and quality control before publishing, but it's a pretty easy function for everyone. You can open a video using Photos, if you're using Windows, select Edit and Create on the upper right-hand side, then select Trim from the drop-down, and you can shrink it down. Second is branding. I'll be retiring that sexy logo you see at the bottom of the slide here shortly. If you're going to start creating your own content, have some fun with it. Make it a thing. Don't take yourself too seriously. Our PD, the cloud, this is where professional stuff can meet culture, and it can be enjoyable because we're sharing and growing with each other. Third, the point of our programs is to grow ourselves and our culture. Yes, we make materials public to ensure access, but we share a lot. We do not want to go viral, get internet famous, or any of that. That sort of thing would open us up to all sorts of scrutiny and misinterpretation. The internet is not a kind place. Hopefully, you keep this small piece that we have as a valuable resource without all the drama and sniping you see in other forums. Lastly, having created content for over a year, I can tell you that you may get frustrated. Putting in the work and maybe having a low view count or not seeing quantifiable results of the work. Remember that our cloud is an archive. Every bit of material we save may make an immediate impact or may speak to someone years after you've left the squadron. You just don't know. But if you have something to say, if you think it's important, get it out there. You never know who you'll touch, but you'll know you're contributing to the growth and culture of the Double Deuce. All right, so that's it for the video. Hopefully that's enough to get you started. The next step is to piece together the roadmap for topics in the near and mid future. Personally, I think a good way to do this would be pick one EPD, one OPD, one SPD per month, and then maybe a JPD type of event every other month or once a quarter. But it really depends on what's going on in the world. If you plan ahead, though, designate the topics and speakers, it becomes a priority that won't drop off. So as you brainstorm on the slide, here's some questions to consider. So let's get to chatting. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you around.